All right, so do you have all your bases covered financially going into retirement? Here's a few things you may want to take a look at just to make sure that you have your bases covered. All right, number one is leisure activities. Things like golf. Golf, on a normal basis, depending on where you live, you may golf once a week, and that may last for 6 to 8 months a year, so it may not be a major expense. But when you go into retirement, things like golf, tennis, and things that you're going to want to do a few times a week to help fill in those days, it may make more sense to spend more money and get a membership to a club or something like that rather than paying as you go. Because it can get rather expensive when you're doing something 2-3 times a week versus once a week. So I did join a golf club here in our small town, and it was very, very reasonable. I can't say that it's going to be that reasonable anywhere else, but it was under $1,000 a year to get a full year membership for myself at our golf club. Now, realizing that this isn't a golf club that has a big clubhouse and places to eat and all that kind of stuff and tennis courts, it is just simply a golf course. But it's great. I can get my exercise, I can walk, and luckily here in the Panhandle of Texas, we can do that, say, at least 7 months a year pretty easily. All right, and taxes are something that you really, really want to take advantage of. Depending on the types of accounts that you have, whether you're into real estate, you have Roth accounts, you have traditional accounts, you really want to get to where you're drawing your money out in the best way that's going to help you with taxes as you go along in retirement. And I can't emphasize that enough. Taxes are huge. And I personally did not look at taxes nearly hard enough when I was doing my pre-retirement planning. It actually almost cost me to delay my retirement and trying to get some tax strategies done. But as my financial advisor and I looked at the plan, we figured out that we could probably do some Roth conversions down the road and make our plan work just fine, and I ended up retiring at 61. All right, the third hidden expense is what I consider boomerang kids. And basically what that is kids are now delaying and staying in school much longer, delaying getting married, delaying buying a house, and are possibly going to need some help during their 20s and 30s. And that may be something that you want to plan to help them out with in purchasing their first home, paying off their student loans, things like that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you need to build that into your plan if that's what you want to do, because you don't want to go ahead and spend that money and then figure out later on that, really I should have put some of that aside so I could go ahead and help them out with their down payment on their house or with paying off those student loans. So boomerang kids can be something that's a hidden expense you may want to take a look at. And now on the opposite side of that, from the boomerang kids, you have elderly parents. Now, elderly parents, that can be a little trickier, because with your kids, you can kind of look out. Wisdom is going to tell you that, hey, they're going to want to do this at this age. But your elderly parents, they may not let you into their inner circle. They may not let you know what they have, what their expenses look like. They could need to go into long-term health care earlier than expected. So it's harder to anticipate elderly parents, aunts, uncles, things like that, and their needs than it would be your kids. But that could be something that you could put some money aside for, and you could plan on spending, so much of your money monthly or yearly on elderly parents and other family members. All right, and this next one is travel expenses. Now, we all know that most of us are going to want to do some traveling when we retire. That could mean going to Europe, or it could mean, going a couple of states over. Personally, my wife and I, there's a lot of the United States that we haven't seen that we're planning on traveling in. But some unexpected travel expenses are things like weddings, birth of children, and when relatives become sick. You know, those are all travel expenses that are going to come up and that are going to be unplanned. So you kind of need to build in some unplanned travel expenses as well as your planned travel expenses. Because you may plan on spending, you know, say $8,000 to $12,000 a year in travel as part of your regular budget, but you probably need to put a few thousand in there for unplanned expenses as well, because things are going to probably happen. So having home and car maintenance is one of those expenses that is hard to take a look at in your crystal ball, but you know they're going to come up. I mean, you know about oil changes on your car. You know that, you know, every 10 to 15 years you're going to need a new roof on your house. Those are some known things, but there are some unknown problems like your HVAC going out in your car or in your home that can really be problematic and cost you a lot of money. So you kind of need to plan for those. And having a nice, good car is a wonderful thing, but I don't care if you have a brand new car or a car that's 15 years old, there are going to be some expenses associated with that and how much you drive it. So take a look at that and always have a budget item for house expenses and for car expenses. All right, and this last one is one that you may not think about a lot, but you probably should, because home and security safety is very important. And as you're out and you're traveling more and you're away from your home, guess what? If nothing else, sometimes it's worth putting that extra monthly budget item in there just to have fire protection. Yeah, fire protection. My little system that I have, I've got 3 monitors in my house that if there's a fire that starts in my house, it will alert the local fire department, even if I'm in Minnesota, New York, or California. So that gives me a little peace of mind that maybe they can get to my house and put out the fire before I have a total loss. Because if you don't have anything, you know, and something happens in the middle of the night, you're dependent on somebody else waking up, seeing the fire, and calling the fire department. So it may be worth it just for that peace of mind, let alone having coverage from somebody actually breaking into your home. So I hope you've gotten some value out of this video, and if you have, please hit that like button and watch this video next.